Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro friends. Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Coffee Fest, happening in LA for 2 more days, today and tomorrow, August the 26th and 27th. Head to coffeefest.com and enter the code that's in the comments section below in order to get 50% off your tickets today. Today on the Daily Coffee Pro, we are talking about how do you get a job, your first job as a barista, when everybody's only hiring for people who have experience? And this was a question that was asked by somebody, and I thought, what a great question. And it is difficult. How do you know what to do when everyone's starting all their ads with barista wanted minimum 2 years experience? Well, how do you get that experience from the right people? How do you get your job? How do you get into that circle and cycle of jobs if you actually don't have experience? And it's a really great question. I have gone ahead and written a blog article on this. So if you go to mapperforward.org/blog, it's either blog or blogs, but I think it's blog. Go ahead and check it out and you'll be able to read an article about this. I want to start off by saying that the best way for you to start thinking about this is to first of all take what at Mapper Forward we call the puppy years. They're the first 2 years of your career in the coffee industry. Take them very seriously. They are the foundational years of the rest of your career. And most people think like these are just the throwaway years, right? This is just where I get to have fun, drink lots of alcohol, hang out with my coffee friends, meet new people, socialize, get laid lots because I'm a barista. Okay, look, so your whole coffee career should be fun. And yes, if you play your cards right and are very professional and know how to be very sociable at work and do everything that a barista is meant to do, bring customers in, treat them well, make them great coffee, make them feel like this is their home, you will be very popular in your career and have a great time. But you've got to learn from the best to get there. And it is about taking very seriously as well as having a good time. First, you've got to do your job really well, and then the fun will take on a life force of its own from there. I loved being a barista. I did it for over 15 years and loved going to work every day as long as I wasn't working for a shitty human. But my customers were the highlight of every day, and I loved being of service to them. I loved making coffee for them and making their day brighter. It made my day brighter, and that's what it's about. So you've got to take your first foundational years way more seriously than what you think. And that will just help the rest of your career unfold much easier. Now, how do you land the right first jobs? And I don't know that I've ever heard anyone speak on this before. So I'll be interested to hear from anyone who has lots of experience in the coffee industry, what your thoughts are on this. I would say to get started, there are a couple of things that are important, but first of all, write a list of the areas that you want to work in. So the geographical areas that you want to work in, and list down all the coffee shops or cafes or places that serve coffee that you want to work in and that you don't want to work in those areas. And it's important to include both. It's important to have a list of the places you do want to work and the places you think you don't want to work. And write a list of why you do and you don't want to work there. Write things down and there's a list of questions you should ask yourself that I've included in the blog post, but you want to ask yourself specific questions about the places that you do and you don't want to work. You should start to get an understanding from that list of a pattern. And you want to ask yourself questions like, I'm sorry, I think you can hear a howling dog in the background. It always makes me wonder if after dogs are howling here in California, if there's going to be an earthquake, because they say that that's the way that it goes. So it's always interesting when that happens when I'm recording a live podcast. But anyway, such is life, and we continue from here. So the kinds of questions that you want to ask yourself. You want to ask yourself, what kind of values do these places have? Both the places you do want to work for and you don't want to work for. You want to ask yourself what their buying philosophies are. You want to ask yourself what the customers say about these cafes and what the employees say about these cafes. And look, in the blog post, I have included information that will tell you how you can gather this information as well, and what the best way to read the details that you're looking for are. Excuse me. So go ahead and write that list, and from that list you will start to get an understanding and a clear outlook of who are the list of places you do and you don't want to work. Please do not make decisions on wanting to work at a place purely because they're popular, purely because you think that they've got a great brand name. You've got to have a better reason than that. Every time I picked a job for that reason, it was just the most stupid decision I'd ever made. Start there and then approach them. But before you approach them, start visiting those cafes and becoming a frequent visitor and drinker of their wares, and get to know some of the people that work there. Get to know the people that own the place. You don't have to go every day, but go regularly enough that they ask your name. They know what you drink. And if you get the opportunity to spark up quick conversations with the people that are there, remember, you don't want to be seen as a pain in the ass. But if you do get to spark up quick conversations with people that are there, go ahead and do it. And eventually you'll be able to drop the line that you're looking for a job. I have hired people who have just come to the cafe that I was working at as a head barista again and again and again. And, you know, if I was hiring, I would say to them, listen, are you ever looking for a job? Like if it's somebody that I thought would be aligned with what we were doing, or if they had mentioned to me, hey Lee, listen, I really want to come and work with you. I want to learn from you, any of that stuff. It plants the seed so that when I am looking for someone, then I've already gonna have that person to consider whenever a job comes up. So it's the first way. Write a list of who you do and you don't want to work for. Figure out why you do and you don't want to work for them, and like be critical about it. Put everyone on an even playing field, and then come up with a list. Go and frequent those places, get to know the people that are there, revisit your list and make sure that you still do or don't want to work for them, and then approach them and just let them know that you're looking. Now, another way that you could land your first job if you don't have any experience, and this is going to sound rather controversial, but I would say go and apply for a job at Starbucks or McCafe. Yes, Starbucks or McCafe. The reason I say this, when I was hiring people, and I know a lot of my friends do this, a lot of my very, very successful friends in coffee have done this as well. Some of them have run the busiest cafes that I know in the world, specialty cafes. Look, those places teach systems. They teach the mindset that we're looking for. We can teach you the coffee side of things, but we can't teach you how to think the way that we need you to think. And when we're dropping 12 kilos a day or more in espresso-based beverages, we need you to understand that systems are paramount to a successful espresso bar and to a successful high volume cafe. So go and get a job at Starbucks or at a McCafe, and you will be ahead of the game. When it comes for you to transition into your mid-career years, the years that 3, 4, and 5 that we call in the Map It Forward maps that we have created, when it comes for you to transition into those, you will have some of the skills that we are really excited about seeing in you. There's nothing that says that after working for Starbucks or McCafe for 12 months that you can't go and apply at a specialty shop. They'll be more than willing to consider you then. I know I used to look for it when I was hiring baristas, and I know a lot of my friends really favor those skills too. But go ahead and do that. Something else is networking. It's really important for you to start becoming a part of your local community, coffee community, as quickly as you can. And so if you've decided that you would like to be a career coffee professional and you haven't landed your first job, get online and join the coffee groups that are in your local area and find out when the next public cupping is going to be at your local cafe or any of the events that are happening. A volunteer for them. And the reason I paused a second there was because I wanted to share something that I've shared on this podcast before, an example of the event that we ran last year, the tour event that we did in Australia. We invited volunteers for both the Sydney and the Melbourne event. We had 6 volunteers for each, I think, something like that. And of the 6 in Sydney, 4 of them were not already in the industry. They were looking for ways to get into the industry, and a couple of them are well on their way to being, well, they're in the industry. They landed jobs from that event. So I'd highly recommend you doing that. And going to events, like I was at Coffee Fest yesterday, and it was just so wonderful to see so many people there that have been listening to the podcast and have decided that they're going to try their hand at networking at Coffee Fest because they don't know anyone in the industry and they just want to go and meet people and introduce themselves to people. They did the educational section of things that the awesome Chris DeFerio was a part of. They attended some of his talks. They went to the latte art competition. All of these things are really great ways for you to go and meet other people and start conversations about, well, hey, so what do you do and where do you work, and what kind of coffee do you like, and who's your favorite roaster, and all that kind of thing. So they're really important events to start attending. Now, they are just, what I've just gone through is just a few. I've listed 6 tips for you on the blog post. I've shared with you 3 today. Head to mapitforward.org/blog and read the article, share it with your friends, and let me know if you have any feedback or stories that you want to share that might help other people who are trying to get into coffee and don't have any experience. I hope this has helped. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day, friends.